Spin is down. Butker's kick is up. And the kick is good. He got it. Butker got it. And the Chiefs have won the game in regulation. Harrison Butker, game winner. Kansas City. And 6-3 never felt so good.
Hello and welcome to a victory edition of The Breakdown. I'm your host, Matt McMullen, and today we are talking Chiefs and Vikings following Kansas City's thrilling win over Minnesota at Arrowhead Stadium. What a win. This was a back-and-forth, hard-nosed football game that had a little bit of everything, but the Chiefs, again without Patrick Mahomes, gutted through it under the direction of Matt Moore, culminating in a game-winning field goal by Harrison Butker as time expired. It doesn't get much better than a walk-off, and that's exactly what the Arrowhead faithful experienced on Sunday. So much to break down here, but let's kick things off with Coach Reid's opening statement from the post-game presser.
All right, so no injuries to report. Hey, listen, my hat goes off to Butker for those last two field goals. That last one was as clutch as you can get. And our defense, I just thought, stepped up, had a beautiful day, great game plan, and they executed well. Offensive line buckled down and did a nice job, which helped the running backs, and it helped our quarterback. I thought that was a gutsy performance now by him, and he utilized his receivers. I thought he did a good job with that. Special teams, we had a couple nice returns there. Can learn from a couple of them, but had a couple there that were very good. But field position became a big part of it. We dang near gave it away at the end, but we kind of hung on to bring it back to where we needed to get that field goal.
Coach Reid seemed pretty happy at the podium following the game, and you can't blame him. The Chiefs fought hard for this one, and it paid off with a big win. All right, let's break this one down from the beginning. It was a defensive battle early on in this one, as both teams traded 3 and outs on their opening possessions. The Chiefs then kept it coming on the Vikings' second series, forcing another 3 and out. In total, Kansas City yielded just 9 yards through the Vikings' first 2 drives. The Chiefs were facing a third down early on their second possession as well, but after Matt Moore found Travis Kelce for a gain of 9 to move the chains, Kansas City started rolling. And just 4 plays later, Moore hit Tyreek Hill for a 40-yard bomb of a touchdown to take the lead.
Gunning it long, he wants Hill right side, diving catch, stretches for the end zone, touchdown! Kansas City, it is a 40-yard bomb! Matt Moore to the cheetah, who tracks it, catches it, and dives it into the end zone.
Great throw by Moore and an awesome catch by Hill, who once again demonstrated why he's the most explosive player in the league. Here's what Moore had to say about that play after the game.
Well, I saw him, and again, he did a great job winning, and it's nice when you see the DB's back turn to you, and he's going. I mean, I tried to put it out as best I could, and I didn't see the catch live. I ended up seeing it later, but he extended for it, which was great, and he got there. That's just a great play by him.
The Vikings are one of the hottest teams in the NFL for a reason, though, and their offense was about to get going. Minnesota quarterback Kirk Cousins led a 12-play, 75-yard scoring drive immediately following the Chiefs' score, knotting things up on a 4-yard touchdown strike to Busy Johnson. Both teams traded punts after that, but then the Chiefs got going once again with a 17-play, nearly 9-minute-long drive that culminated in a go-ahead field goal. That series was aided by a ridiculous one-handed grab by Sammy Watkins and later extended by a 4th down, 1-yard plunge courtesy of Damian Williams at the Vikings' 6-yard line. The Chiefs couldn't move forward from there, but they still came away with points and the lead. Then, on the Vikings' ensuing possession, Emmanuel Ogbah and Chris Jones, who was playing in his first game since Week 5, came crashing in on Cousins for a huge 3rd down sack.
Cousins under pressure, he's buried back at the 18-yard line. And it was Emmanuel Ogbah and Chris Jones teaming up, Passanio in there as well. And the Vikings are 3 and out after the Chiefs' monstrous field goal drive.
Jones was given credit for the sack in the box score, marking his 3rd of the year, while forcing the Vikings' punt. Minnesota would eventually tie things up, however, as Dan Bailey connected on a short field goal with just 6 seconds remaining in the first half. Kansas City received the opening kickoff to begin the second half of action, but Mecole Hardman fumbled the ball on the return, and the Vikings made the Chiefs pay, as Cousins found Amir Abdullah for a 16-yard go-ahead score soon after. Minnesota missed the extra point, though, and that ended up mattering just a little while later. The Chiefs were backed up all the way to their own 3-yard line midway through the third quarter, a few drives after Minnesota took the lead. But that didn't matter as Damian Williams broke free for a 91-yard touchdown run to get Kansas City back in the end zone.
Handoff, cuts it back right across the 15, 20, 25, 30. Damian Williams at the 40. He's in midfield. It's a race. He's at the 30, 25, 20. It's a race. He will win. Touchdown run against this vaunted Viking rush defense. Damian Williams all the way home. Touchdown, Kansas City.
It was electric. And in fact, it was the longest touchdown run in the NFL this season. That score tied the game by itself before Harrison Butker's extra point pushed the Chiefs in front. And just like that, Kansas City was back in the driver's seat. The Chiefs added another field goal a little later, extending their advantage by 4. But the Vikings reclaimed the lead early in the fourth quarter when Cousins hit Kyle Rudolph on a 3-yard touchdown. It was the 4th lead change of the afternoon, but it would not be the last. Facing a 3rd and 7 with just over 5 minutes left, Moore found Tyreek Hill for a gain of 11 to move the chains. And then just a play later, Hill hauled in an incredible 41-yard contested catch over cornerback Trey Waynes to move the Chiefs into the red zone.
Moore will throw. Under pressure, throwing along. He wants Tyreek Hill going to the ball and makes the catch. He just got inside leverage against the defender. Only one person on the planet can make that catch. It's a 40-yard reception. Trey Waynes couldn't have better coverage on the cheetah, and yet Tyreek works back inside to get leverage and the ball.
We always talk about Hill's speed, but this was a prime example of why he's one of the very best all-around receivers in the NFL. We caught up with Moore after the game to see what he saw on that play.
That was an awesome one to throw it and take a shot, and then initially I kind of was like, oh man, and then the crowd went crazy, and one of the O-linemen was like, Matt, he caught it, let's go. And I was like, sweet, here we go.
You just have to love Moore and his mentality out there. We also caught up with Tyreek after the game to talk about that play.
That's just all Matt and offensive line. You know what I'm saying? Offensive line doing a great job protecting, and Matt just throwing the ball up, trusting me to make a play down the field. So I was able to jump over the guy and make a play.
Moving forward, the drive stalled after that, but Harrison Butker has ice water in his veins. Butker connected on a 54-yard field goal, matching his career long, to tie the game as Arrowhead erupted.
Butker's kick, trying to line it up. Has he got enough? Does he have enough? He's got enough! It is over the crossbar, and the Chiefs tie the game at 23 on a 54-yard field goal by Harrison Butker.
Now it was up to the defense. The Vikings had over 2 minutes to work with, and while the Chiefs' sideline was buzzing, Minnesota just needed to get into field goal range to win the game. Luckily, Kansas City's defense had other plans. This group brought ridiculous energy, forcing 2 incompletions and 1 completion for a loss of 7 yards. The Vikings came into this one with a 3rd-ranked scoring offense in the NFL, and in crunch time, the Chiefs weren't yielding an inch.
They want to run a screen. Catch is made, and the tackle's there. Dirty Dan Sorensen, real dirty on that one. It is a loss of 7 yards as Dan Sorensen reads the screen and makes the tackle.
The Vikings' ensuing punt went only 29 yards. But in a game defined by swings of momentum, Minnesota sacked Moore for a loss of 10 on the Chiefs' first play. That set up a 2nd and 21 with 59 seconds left from midfield. But Moore, who was coaching high school football not too long ago, wasn't fazed, firing a 17-yard completion to Travis Kelce to set up a manageable 3rd down.
Moore loads it left. It is caught at the Viking 40-yard line. Catch made by Kelce in front of Harrison Smith.
Moore found Hill for a gain of 13 on the Chiefs' next play, which brings us to Butker's game winner. Consider this. Butker had just nailed a 54-yarder to tie the game. The guy was likely feeling pretty good, but just a few minutes later, his number was called again to come up clutch. That isn't easy, far from it, but Butker came through once again. He talked about his mindset between kicks following the game.
To be successful as a kicker, you can't go into a kick with a lot of adrenaline, so I was just kind of pacing on the sideline, taking deep breaths, trying to get back in that calm mode that I think I do my best at as a kicker. But tie game, our defense is out there. They did a great job stopping them, so I knew it was going to come down to a field goal, and we got a great field position, and then we made the kick.
Huge, thrilling, awesome win. Any way you slice it, that one feels really, really good. All right, let's dive into 4 stats to know from this game. My first stat is 91. Damian Williams' 91-yard touchdown run wasn't only the longest rush in the NFL this season, it tied Jamal Charles for the longest touchdown run in Chiefs history. There are some pretty good running backs in the history of this franchise, from Marcus Allen to Priest Holmes, but only Charles has accomplished what Williams pulled off on Sunday. Pretty cool. My second stat is 40. Tyreek Hill hauled in a 40-yard touchdown early in the game, marking his 3rd 40-yard touchdown of the year. Hill finished with 6 catches for 140 yards, easily his best performance of the season. As I said earlier, Hill is the most explosive player in the league, and the numbers back it up. My next stat is 103.9. That was Matt Moore's passer rating on Sunday against one of the top defenses in the NFL. He completed 25 of 35 passes for 275 yards and a touchdown, and as Reed said earlier, just played a gutsy game. He's a guy you root for, and it had to feel good getting the win on Sunday. Here's what he had to say about getting his first win in over 2 years as a starting quarterback.
It's exciting. I mean, it gets the juices flowing, obviously. This is an emotional game. The emotions were all over the place today. But to see the team, to win at home, to see the guys rally, everybody really, I mean, total team win, all 3 phases. It's great to be a part of, great to see.
Finally, my last stat is 71. That's how many rushing yards Vikings tailback Dalvin Cook had in this one. Cook led the NFL in rushing and yards from scrimmage coming into the game. But despite a few big catches, the Chiefs held him relatively in check throughout. That's a massive win for Kansas City's defense, and it played a huge role in getting the victory. Coach Reed spoke about the defense's ability to contain Cook after the game.
Yeah, so, well, he's a great running back and the best right now going. And so he, our guys buckled down. They took that challenge, and they worked hard this week to make sure they started with that, but still kept their pass rush ability up and be able to cover on the drops there. So I think that's a good football team. I think Mike's done a nice job. Zimmer has done a nice job with that group, and it's a good win. It's a good win for us too.
Now it's time for some final thoughts. Listen, this just feels like a huge win. The Chiefs are playing without several starters yet again, including the MVP, and facing one of the best all-around teams in the NFL. The Vikings, conversely, were rolling. They won 4 straight and were arguably the hottest team in the league right now. For some teams, that's a recipe for a tough afternoon. But this locker room, this coaching staff, and this team are not like most. The way they banded together and fought against a physical, tough team for 4 quarters is what it's all about, and it paid off with a huge victory. That's all I have today, everybody. I'm Matt McMullen, signing off from a victory at Arrowhead. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.